we're back, and we've got a good one for you today. Can you put a basement under your house if you only have a crawl space? Or can you make your basement deeper without, lifting your whole house and doing a whole bunch of stuff? So we're going to kind of go over that a little bit and give you an idea of what it takes to actually put a basement underneath your house. But before we do that, make sure you dingle on that bell, hit that subscribe button, and of course, you can always leave us a note down below. We're happy to answer your questions if you've got any about this subject or whatever fly was just going past me, and we'll answer it for you. All right.
Eventually.
Yes. It takes me a day or two sometimes, but I get them.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's do the share. And there we are. Where do we start there, Rich?
Well, this is going to be your general sequence of work. So, can you put a basement under your home? Simple answer, yes. You can now go all the way to the end credits. If you'd like to know how to do it, we're going to help you out that. So stick with us.
Yes.
Anyway, first thing you're going to need is engineering and permitting, right? So you'd need to get a structural engineer involved. And basically, they're going to check your soil and then figure out a foundation type. They also want to figure out where your water table is. And then the loads, how much load are you going to be putting on this new foundation if you dig it out?
Right.
In the soil samples, typically they just pull them up and they proctor them, they test them. Obviously, obtaining the permits and approvals from your local building department, that's pretty straightforward, I think, right? That's just a hurdle, but pretty
Yeah.
straightforward. People in the building department typically helpful.
Yep. Yep.
So,
I would agree. Uh, it can be a process, and it depends on the municipality you're with. But
oh yeah.
if you're out
Some are
there,
super nice and quick and easy, and some are like, oh, I'm sorry, you forgot to cross that T back to the
right?
end of the queue.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I want the torque specs for the bolt that goes through. I want to have that written on the sheet. So, what's the torque spec of that
Yes.
of that
Yeah,
bolt?
no, all right. So the next step you're going to want to get into is site prep. And site prep is a matter of disconnecting and rerouting the utilities in the crawl space. I mean, especially if you want to live in the house while you're doing this, right? So
Yep.
you can't just cut off the 4-inch main drain from your house so that every time somebody uses a bathroom or a sink or a tub that it just dumps into your construction or work site.
No,
You
that's not
might want
very.
to reconnect that some other way.
Yeah, that's not very healthy.
And then temporary shoring or bracing to stabilize the structure before you start digging. So as you can see in this picture, we've got some probably screw jacks that are now supporting the old stone foundation.
Yep.
And that is an old stone foundation.
Yes, it is.
This also brings us to the next point, access creation. Digging entry points, usually through an opening in a foundation wall, which those would be. So yes, I froze up, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I could
That's Uncle Fred digging out his crawl space right there, making a full basement.
right. Well, that goes under that next point where sometimes the machinery won't fit.
Uh-huh.
So you bring in this guy.
Right.
This guy, he hand digs for me.
Yes. He loves to dig. And you can
Yes.
see on the other picture next to it where it's a significant drop that they're getting ready to go through and cut in underneath the rest of that house.
Yep. So actually, the other thing going back to our digger guy, really not the guy. So they're going to put a basement in there. Are they going to use all the lumber they have stored up here in the floor joists? They've
Yeah.
been saving that for the new basement. I know
Right.
it. I know it.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. So I think that also goes along with number 4, excavation. The soil's removed gradually in sections beneath the home. So the work is staged so that the house remains supported at all times.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah,
And
look at that little machine in there. They bring that right up that ladder.
yeah, right. It probably got lowered it right through there. Or there's
Yeah.
a hole on the other end. But you can see they've got new steel beam in there. They've got the new steel post right in here, going down to new footings underneath that are all the way down where they need to be.
Right. Point load piers, footings.
Yep.
Also, if you have a wood beam in your basement and you're thinking of doing this, no structural engineer can do calculations on an old existing wood beam because we don't know the species and blah, blah, blah. So just anticipate pulling that out and putting in steel.
Right. And What's the problem with doing the steel anyway?
Underpinning foundation extension. So existing footings are deepened, extended down to small sequences called pins. Oh, look at you.
See?
All four of these. Yeah. So yes, you're going to underpin that wall. You'll dig out a section. Now, typically what they'll do is maybe 4 foot sections and they do a 4 foot section, skip a 4 foot section, do a 4 foot section, skip, right? So you alternate. And that way the house is still supported. Then you go back after you've poured those 4 foot sections, then you dig out the other ones and you tie them all together with your rebar and stuff. It's actually kind of cool.
Yeah. And so, you don't want to throw a full point load right on there with green concrete either. So
No.
you do those 4 foot sections, you can let it cure, and then you come back and hit those other sections. So that way
Hmm.
you're not point loading an entire house onto really green concrete, which you don't want to do. You want to let that cure. And I believe, what is it, 30 days ideally for it to
To get to
cure?
like 80% of its
Yeah.
final strength.
Right.
So another thing on this photo that's good is the projection for the footer is being cut away there.
Right.
So that would be an existing crawl space done much later. But if you're in a home that had either earth formed or whatever, you might only had a belled bottom. You may not even have that. The old houses in the north side of Chicago, they're just limestone
Right.
that they laid down. You know what I mean? So you might just need to save that. Anyway, so once the underpinning is complete, you can finish the excavation of the pool basement area. You want to install a drainage system, a sump pump, and a vapor barrier. Look at that, new concrete floor, concrete underpinning, new gravel. I see new interior drainage. I do not see vapor barrier.
Right here. It says right here, new interior waterproofing membrane.
Well, that's a waterproofing membrane
Yeah.
on the wrong side of the house.
Yeah. They're letting all the water come in and then grabbing it and taking it to the drain.
Yeah, well, it's fine. I'm not gonna, it still works,
Yep.
but because you're actually not building hydraulic pressure and you're giving it a place to go below slab, it's just not the way I would like to do it.
Right.
But the way they're showing it, you don't have to dig up the whole outside. So enough. So, but you see here the original concrete floor level, it's now much lower. So that's a beautiful thing.
And you're saying the vapor barrier on the floor, they're not calling that out, the 10 mil.
Right, the vapor barrier underneath that slab. So that should be done. So you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like right in there.
Right in here.
Yeah, you should have the, 6 mil plastic vapor barrier.
Right.
All right. Then once you're done with that, you can go ahead and start doing all your utilities. You can rough in your plumbing, HVAC, electrical, right? Make it habitable, insulate it, finish as desired.
Yep.
All right. That's not finished as desired, but it's definitely
No,
more usable.
but so they left the furnace sitting up on this. Right here's your sewer line coming down and going out, or that's the water. Maybe that's the water line coming in. That's the water service. Here's your gas service that's up and out of the way already.
So what do you think the benefits of adding a basement under your house might be? Ooh, that's a beauty. Oh, that's definitely not the trackless carpet.
No.
All right. No, it adds usable square footage, of course, without expanding the footprint of the house. A finished basement can significantly increase the resale value of your home. Energy efficiency. We talk about air leakage all the time, and most of the time, your makeup air is coming from uncontrolled areas such as basement, rim joists, things like that.
Yep.
So properly insulated, that can definitely help regulate your temperature. And of course, structural upgrade, right? I mean, if you had an old stone foundation, like the one picture, to have a cast concrete or poured in place concrete, that's definitely going to be much stronger.
Right. And the other thing too is you could be using the CMU instead of pouring concrete. If you're for your foundation wall, if you're taking out an old stone wall or an old brick wall, you can put CMU in there and not necessarily have to pour concrete. But around here we pour concrete. I don't know.
Well, and I think another great choice is to use the foam blocks,
Oh,
just
yep,
because now you're getting, because if you go in for your permit, they're going to tell you the basement wall has to be R10.
yep.
So by using the foam blocks that you could put together like Legos, and then
Uh-huh.
you fill those with concrete, that gives you your R10 already.
Right.
So that's also a good way to go. Hmm.
Agreed.
So let's talk about the cost. Cost usually somewhere between 50 and $150,000. That's going to depend on the size of the basement, the soil, access finishes. It can be more expensive than adding above ground, but again, if you're in a city and you don't have room to go up or over, then you don't have much choice.
Right.
But yeah, you can see that you got a nice mix of what it's going to cost there.
Right. And when I found this, I found it to be fairly accurate. So that's about right. And
Yeah.
we'll thank Angie for that. And this is actually February of 22. So it's not that old.
No, it is probably very little, but it's still not bad. It's not too far off.
I would agree. So,
Yeah.
and again, I think you're right. You're at a minimum going to be spending 50 and more closely at 100 to 150. It's
Well,
going
the
to
50 would be if you were putting a basement in, 150 finished basement. You know, like, and again, footprint. How big is it? How much
right.
dirt? Am I going through rock or am I going through clay?
Yeah.
You know, that's the other thing. If your soil's clay, it's easier to dig, form, and
Poor.
pour.
Right.
But if you're sand, well,
Well,
now you got to build shoring, and you know what I mean. So yes,
right.
a lot of things. So just saying it can be done.
Right.
Keep in mind too, it's the disruption. It's a major project. It could take some time to do. It's, you know, the vibration, the dust, especially if you're going to try and live there during that whole process.
Eh, you think you're really going to live? Well, I guess you could live there if you had an outhouse or always kept the sewer and water lines hooked up. The
We've
electrical,
done that.
easy.
We've used flexible, like even almost garden hose for water lines, and then, you
Okay.
know, use an ejector pit and you can actually temp sewers. So there are ways to do it that aren't really expensive. It's just, yeah, and you still got to have a way to do it.
Right.
And then depending on where you live, some cities, they're not going to allow you to do the ejector pit and that because you can't take effluents from one floor down to another and then out.
Correct.
It's a no-no because unless you're down there checking, it could overflow and make a major mess. Okay, waterproofing challenges, and this goes back to that one drawing you had. Basements are more vulnerable to leaks, groundwater, and humidity. And think about this, you're not excavating the outside. So as much as it'd be nice to put that drainage membrane on the outside, we're doing the work from under the house on the inside. So all we can do is what they show here. Limited access is going to be a big cost factor. I mean, if it all has to be hand dug, that's another thing, you know.
Well, I mean, if you've got access from the backside, you can just drive right in. That's
Yeah.
that's pretty slick right there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's why I think most of these cases are like if you can have a walkout basement,
Hmm.
it's cool. Finished basement, definitely, you know, that's where most home theaters are now. And
Right.
so
And
it's
it's a
cool.
good value add place to send the kids, and you don't have to listen to them running around screaming and stuff. And
Yeah. Insulate that ceiling.
yeah, exactly. Exactly it. All right. So with that, I think we'll wrap it up and say make sure you hit that subscribe button, dingle on the bell, and of course, leave a note down below. And in the meantime, keep it square and level.
Till next time.
Till next time. There you go.